I wish that more authors knew that like bodily diversity is a thing and other body types are actually very fun and very sexy in real life and to read about. Did you guys know that? Now you do. Hello beautiful, my name is Mina. Welcome to my channel, Mina Reads, and today we're going to be starting a reading challenge. And in this reading challenge, I'm going to be attempting to read at least 150 pages every single day for 7 days, and we're going to see how we do. So yeah, roll the clips. Okay, hello friends. It is Sunday morning. I am a little bit sick, not really. I have allergies. I went out to this party yesterday and the people had a cat, and so I'm a little bit fucked up right now, but I'm surviving, I'm thriving. My skin is kind of glowing today, so shout out to the post-hangover glow, I guess. And I'm currently making some breakfast, but I wanted to come on here because I've just sort of impulsively decided that this week I would like to try and do another one of those reading challenges. I really love doing reading challenges that are like page goal oriented, so I'm thinking that this time around I am going to attempt to read 150 pages every day for a week. I have a video where I attempt to read 100 pages every day for a week, a video where I do 200 pages every day for a week. This time we're going to do 150, and the first book that is on my list is Silver Under Nightfall by Chupeco. This book is a like vampire fantasy, and it involves like a poly relationship, and I'm trying to figure out like the best way to give you a synopsis for this because there's some other stuff that is actually happening in the book. But I have already made a lot of progress. I'm already like 100 or so pages into it because I started reading it yesterday, because this is a buddy read with my two booktube besties, Miriam and Erin, and so we're reading it together. I did start it the other day, but I would like to read some more of it. And today is also Super Bowl Sunday, so I have a Super Bowl party to go to later, so I have to get cracking and get some reading in. But I'm so excited because this book is just very, very good. So this is a story about a character named Remy Pendergast, and he's a reaper, and reapers in this world, they basically hunt vampires, and we're following this country. I can't remember the name of the country, but we're following this country that is kind of at war with several vampire factions, and at the start of this story there's a certain vampire faction that is kind of trying to create like a peace treaty between their two nations. And so we see Remy at this like duchess's party, and he ends up meeting this vampire queen and her partner, and it's basically about them as a unit trying to solve this like supernatural mystery that's going on, because someone is creating these monsters that they are all hunting, and they think that they're being created to create a rift between the humans and the vampires to prevent them from like actively having this peace treaty go through. And yeah, like it's so interesting, so entertaining so far. I'm loving the characters. I love the world building thus far. I really like Remy as a main character. Like I'm very obsessed with him, and he's my poor little baby who has gone through way too much in his short life, but I am obsessed with him. And so is the vampire queen. Her name is, I want to say, Xiaodan, and so Xiaodan and her partner, I want to say her partner's name is Malik. His name is like Zidane Malik, but they call him Malik more frequently than they call him by his first name. But anyway, they are iconic, and they are also obsessed with Remy. I'm having a good time so far, and I'm hoping to make a good dent in it today before my Super Bowl party. So yeah, go Birds. I'm gonna read this. Okay, hi friends. It is much later in the day. I am back in my pajamas, back in bed. It is about 10:30, and the Eagles just lost the Super Bowl. Very disappointing. Alright, so now that I'm home, I need to read so that I can catch up on my page goal for the day, because I've only read 52 pages today of this, and so yeah, I need to get into it, get reading. And also I just checked my buddy reading group chat, and Erin has already finished the book because she's a speed reading queen. So now it's time for me to put the pedal to the metal or something like that and read the book. I don't even know, is that how that phrase go? When I did get into my reading yesterday, I was on chapter 12, so that was page 159, and I'm now at page 310, so I'm pretty sure if I know anything, that I should be at 150 pages read for yesterday, and now I'm on chapter 24, and so I'm gonna do some more reading today. I'm currently making some lunch, and so I'm going to cook my food and eat and read, but let me give you some of my initial thoughts on this book. So first and foremost, I am really enjoying it. I'm compulsively readable because it is a lot of action. It's very fast paced. The part of the story that I'm in right now is about them investigating how this like outbreak of something called the rot has happened, which is causing people to turn into vampires, but like a corrupted form of vampires that kind of can't be killed through usual means, and they just continue to regenerate. And there are lots of cases popping up across the country, so they're on like this kind of road trip to figure out what is going on, where is the rot like coming from, and how to create a cure. And this story is also inspired by the video game slash Netflix show Castlevania, and so you can definitely see where the Castlevania vibes are coming from in this story. So I would say that Remy is very much a Trevor Belmont type character, where he comes from like a long line of famous monster hunters, so his name kind of precedes him in a lot of areas. But he's also a bit of an outcast despite this kind of infamy that he has. And then I would say that his dynamic with the vampire lord Zidane, that is married, or not married, but engaged to Jalden, the heiress, very much have like Alucard and Trevor's dynamic of like, I don't know, just like that chemistry where they're always bickering with each other, but they kind of seem like they're gonna fuck. That's the energy that Remy and Zidane have together. And there was a scene of them and they were like sparring, and it was this one scene and they were like arguing with each other, and Remy was like, fuck you Zidane, and Zidane was like, maybe one day if you're lucky. And I fucking love that. I love banter like that so much. So anyways, this is like very openly a polyamorous story. Like Zidane and Jalden are trying to ingratiate, is that the word? Integrate Remy into their relationship. They have kind of made that plain and like their boundaries very clear to Remy, but Remy is still a little bit apprehensive, and they're kind of trying to take things slow, but at the same time there's just lots of chemistry and tension and everything like that. And it's just really good so far. Like, I'm having a great time with it. Like I said, I am 310 pages into the book, so I have a lot more to go. I think there's like 500 pages in this book, so still got about 200, less than 200 pages, but I've still got about like 190 pages left to finish this book. But I'm having a really good time with it. I'm hoping to finish it today, so we'll see how that goes. I like the way that the vampires are kind of coexisting, but not really, with the humans, because they're kind of hunting humans, and humans are trying to keep them at bay, but at the same time they have like political alliances, and it's all very interesting. Like, it's very interesting, and I think this is a pretty cool start to a series, because the next book is coming out in October of 2023. So I'll be interested to see how this book wraps up and how the story is going to continue on. So I just think it's like a really cool basis for a vampire fantasy, and I'm having a good time. So yeah. Okay, I've got no clue where I put my camera, so we're just gonna use my shitty phone quality. But I have finished this book, and I give 4-star. I really enjoyed it. It's very fun, very fast-paced, really like action-packed. There's a lot going on. I think the main character, Remy, is very lovable. He's kind of one of those characters that's just having like a no good, very bad day, but instead of a bad day, it's like a bad life. It's like everything that could be going wrong is going wrong in his life. And I think that the two vampires that he meets that want him to be their lover kind of are the only people injecting some goodness into his life. And also his best friend LK, who's cute. They have a nice little friendship going. But Remy is definitely one of those characters where it's like he is just straight up not having a good time, and I kind of enjoy that. I do love reading about a protagonist who is having a no good, very bad life. Like, I don't know why, but it's just something that works for me. And I always feel like immediately like, oh my god, this character is my little poor baby and I'm obsessed with them. So I do feel that way about Remy. I really like the other two like main characters. I like them a whole lot. I like their dynamic, like romantically, sexually, very fun. I did feel a little bit like at times it was very much, there was a lot of showing, or no, there was a lot of telling maybe and not as much showing. I feel like the characters very often would say, yeah, like, how did this happen or how did that happen? And then we would get a lot of like dialogue based info dumps happening, and so characters would like tell things about their history, about their backstory. There was constant like villainous monologue explaining everything, and I can't say that I personally really hated that, because it made this like a very easy reading experience, because I didn't have to apply too much thought to it, because the characters are gonna let me know what the fuck's going on in case I missed it in the other like 500 pages, you know. Like, you can't say that it's bad, because I like the narration style. I kind of like this character sense of humor and the way that the author does dialogue. I think that all of that was like, it was very engaging and fun for me. But I do think that that's like something I should mention getting into this, just because I know that some people like deeply hate lots of exposition, and there's lots of expository moments in this book. But I really enjoyed it. Like I said, I really like the characters. I enjoy the world that it was set in. There's kind of like some political stuff going on. There's lots of action, and I just found it to be like pretty fascinating. I can't wait to pick up the next book. I was reading this with both of my besties, and that's been a really fun reading experience. Miriam, she's not finished reading yet, but me and Erin just finished, and Erin also just DM'd the author, Rin, and they talked to Rin, and they were like, Rin, why aren't there more sex scenes in this book? And Rin says there's going to be more sex scenes in book 2, so I'm hyped. I'm stoked. Good time was had by me. So I think I started, or not, I don't think, I know. I started reading today on page 311, and I finished the book, and so there are 503 pages in the book, I think. Let's see. Yeah, 503 pages in the book. So I believe I read about 190 pages of the book, but I can't count. So whatever the page number is going to be up here on the screen. But yeah, it was a very, very productive reading day, and I'm excited about it. So I'm trying to pick what my next read's going to be, and I think I'm going to ask Instagram what they think I should attempt to read first. So I'll let them decide, and I'll let you know. All right, happy Valentine's Day. Okay, so I did do a little poll on Instagram last night, and Blood Trials did end up winning the poll. But one thing about me is that every day is opposite day in my brain. So if you tell me to do one thing, I am going to do another. And so I ended up, instead of reading this, I picked up 2 romance novellas, or 2 erotica novellas, whatever you want to call them. So one is called Sugar Sugar by Lady Marie, and the other is called Dolore by Katrina Jackson. Dolore is a part of this mafia romance series about these like girl cousins who go to Italy, and they all end up like falling in love with various guys that are part of this mafia organization, and it's all very dramatic but also very cute, very fluffy, very sweet, and also really steamy. So this novella is about 87 pages, and it is about this character named Zoe and her love interest Alfonso. And Alfonso is a little bit kinky. He has like a pain kink, and so she's kind of helping him figure out his kinks and stuff, and he's the submissive, by the way, which is very cool. So they're getting down and dirty and doing all that good stuff, all that fun stuff in Italy on vacation, while they are also ducking like opposition from other mafia groups, because there's some mafia drama going on that I can't really remember, because I read the rest of the series like 2 years ago at this point, so I don't really remember all the goings on of that series. But I do know that it's hot, it has black girl MCs, and there's mafia romance. So if that's something you're looking for, check this series out. It's called the Family Series. Yeah, so I'm reading this. I finished this. And then I also finished Sugar Sugar, which is only 60 pages or 67 pages, something like that. It's a novella about this sugar baby and her sugar daddy, and they go like on their usual night on the town, and things end up heating up between them, and it's just like a hookup novella. And that one was fine, that one was cool. So if you're into like older men, sugar baby vibes, like, I don't know, maybe you'll enjoy that. So I read these 2, and now I am going to try and go back to reading the Blood Trials, because that's what you guys voted for. And yeah, I'm gonna wear my cute little Valentine's Day headband that I got at this Valentine's Day party that I went to on the weekend, and I'm gonna update you on the next book that I end up reading and how many pages I read. Hi friends, good morning. It's Wednesday. So I have some reading updates for you. So last night I did read about 20 pages of the blood trials, and I still am unsure about how I'm feeling about it, but I think that a lot of that is coming from the fact that I've been listening to the audiobook as I try to read along, because I thought that that would help me like get engaged with the story, because I typically tend to love listening to audiobooks while I'm reading a fantasy, just because I feel like it helps me like get more immersed in the story. But I feel like in this case I'm not a huge fan of the narrator, especially the way that she chooses to narrate like the antagonistic characters in the story, because this is a book about a character named Ikenna, and Ikenna is trying to become a Praetorian, which is like this elite class of soldiers in her society, and so the training to become a Praetorian is like very vigorous and very scary, and like the other already established Praetorians, basically like they carry out this training that is really like running these characters into the ground, and trying to see who fails. And so some people fail like at the expense of their lives, and they get killed or whatever if they don't do well in the trials. And so it's like it's a whole thing. It's very fraught and dangerous kind of thing to embark on, and so it's very dangerous, very scary, right? But the way that the narrator chooses to narrate the Praetorians that are training Ikenna and her friends is very like, they sound like bullies in like a Disney movie. Like they just don't, I just cannot take them seriously, and I feel like it just continuously takes me out of the story whenever they speak, because they just sound very goofy. And then Ikenna is like, oh my god, like I'm so terrified, like my friends are at risk, I'm at risk, we're all gonna die. And then I hear this character talking and he sounds like he's about to say like, give me your lunch money, you know? So it just like, the two are not mixing very well in my mind. So I think I'm gonna give up on the audiobook and just have to read physically, just raw dog the book experience, I guess. So we're gonna do that. But I did end up starting the audiobook for The Stone Sky by N.K. Jemisin, because I love a good audiobook experience, and this is a great audiobook experience. The narrator is incredible, and so I'm already 84 pages into this. I've been reading a little bit this morning, and so I'm already 84 pages into this. It's going very quickly. I'm very immersed, even though it's been a long time since I read the other books in this series. And so in this book we're following Sun, who has been a part of this community called Karima, and I don't know if you guys are very familiar with the Broken Earth trilogy, but it's like set in this dystopian society where humanity is like constantly on the verge of extinction, because there are these seismic events and like natural disasters constantly occurring on this continent that they live on called the Stillness. And there are characters named Origins, or not named Origins, but their origins are like this group of people that have power over seismic activity, but at the same time they are like almost universally treated as garbage and less than in their society, which is kind of crazy, because they are like the only people who have the ability to provide some sort of stability to the continent that they're on. So they're like, degradation as a class doesn't make any sense, but that's what's going on, that's what's happening. And so we follow Sun in the beginning of the series as another season, which is another period of intense seismic activity is happening. And so the world is kind of shrouded in darkness, lots of like ash and cloud smoke and everything like that. And so Sun is looking for her daughter, Nessun, who has been taken by her father. And we're following Sun on that journey to recover her daughter and also survive this season. And so to survive this season, she ends up in this community called Karima, and some stuff has happened to that community. And so in this book, her and the rest of the community are on foot, on the run, and Sun is trying to figure out where her loyalties lie. Does she stay with Karima and the people there that she has come to know and kind of love and care about, or does she leave the pack and go continue looking for her daughter? There's some other stuff going on where we're uncovering the reasoning behind the seasons and why they happen, and why all of this like destruction is constantly happening to the earth, and why there's like, you know, there's no equilibrium in the ecosystem, I guess. Like we're kind of uncovering some of that with the perspective of this character named Hoa, whose backstory we're getting in a few different chapters in here. And it's just very interesting. There's a lot going on. So yeah, like very much enjoying this one a lot more than I was enjoying this one. I don't think this is bad by any means, but the experience was just like not fantastic. So I am reading this, and I'm gonna go back to the blood trials in a little bit, I think. Okay, besties, this is very crazy. It's like 2 p.m. and I'm still in my pajamas, but I did get to page 150. I'm actually at page 156 right now. And so yeah, I've made a lot of progress today. I've already hit my page goal for the day. Like, we love that for me. I'm probably going to keep reading just because I'm getting pretty into it. Like, the story is I don't know, it's really interesting. I'm loving hearing the backstory of this one character named Hoa. I think that if you've read the first book in the series, at least you will have met Hoa, and Hoa is like this very I don't want to call him an alien, but he has like an alien presence where he's just like kind of strange, and you just really don't know like what his deal is or what's going on. And so in this book, we're getting like that information about where did Hoa come from and why is Hoa here. And so I am loving like that inclusion into the story, and so it's definitely propelling me through the narrative. And I still love Essen. I think that the community that she's a part of is like full of a lot of interesting characters. I'm still struggling a little bit with Nessun's chapters because I hate reading about her and Shafa. I hate this whole found family thing that her and Shafa have going on. Like, it really is turning my stomach. Like, if you know, you know, but Shafa just makes me so uncomfortable, and I just can't. Like, I literally cannot. But besides that, like, I'm having a good time. It's a really interesting book. It definitely took me a minute to get back into like the language and the narrative techniques that N.K. Jemisin is kind of fond of, the way that she likes to organize her story. It did take me a minute to get back into that, but now I feel like I'm fully situated and having a good time. Hey friends, so I read a lot more of my book yesterday. After I updated you, I reached like 150 pages into Stone Sky, and I was like, yeah, like, that's cool, I did it, you know, I reached my page goal for the day, that's cool. And then I ended up reading 100 more pages because why not? I feel like this book is really interesting, but also very confusing. I think that I'm confused by it more so because it's been so long since I read the first 2 books in this series, so I'm just so unfamiliar with like the language that's being used. And so I constantly find myself like a little bit lost, like, what the hell are they talking about, what's going on? This is a story that's very polyphonic. Like, there's a lot of different voices telling the story from a lot of different perspectives and time periods, and so I feel like I was definitely having some trouble like putting all the pieces together and figuring out where they all fit in the timeline of the narrative. And it is like a story that is being told to you by an outside figure, and so I think that what the hell? Okay, there's my coffee maker. And I really felt like it, you know, it was taking me some time to figure out what was going on, but despite my confusion, I was still really intrigued, so I just had to keep reading. So yeah, I read like 100 more pages yesterday, so I got to like page 250, and I started my reading today. Right now, I am on page 340, so I've only got about 50 pages left in the book, and it's just like, it's so crazy getting all of these answers, but still feeling like, child, I don't have a clue in the world what's going on or where the book is going to end up. But this is just such a fascinating series. Like, I would definitely recommend it if you are a reader who will be okay with being a little bit confused, and you're okay with the writer being smarter than you, because I definitely feel like N.K. Jemisin is way smarter than me, and she's thinking on levels that I can only barely comprehend. But I feel like the way that it all comes together is so fascinating. So I would definitely recommend this series. Like, I really love the first 2. I still think, obviously I've got 50 pages left in this book, but I do still think that the first book in the series is the strongest, but this book is really good. Like, I'm having a good time with it. It's very intriguing. So I'm gonna keep reading this. I'm also gonna get dressed and I'm heading out today because my local Barnes & Noble is closing. If you're from Philly, it's the one on like 18th and Walnut, but they are having like a store-wide sale because they need to get rid of all of their like stock. So I will be going down there today to buy some books, hopefully. So yeah. Okay, hi friends. So I am back from my very sad shopping trip at the bookstore. I am genuinely like so upset that that bookstore is closing. Like, I don't know, it's really just like the end of an era for me because that bookstore was like very important to me when I was in high school. Like, me and my friends would go there pretty much every week. Like on Fridays we would go there and we go to like the little cafe and get Starbucks and just like browse the books because we were all bookworms, and it just was like so cute and so memorable for that reason, but also like it's just been such a part of my life for a long time, and I don't know, I just have like a lot of memories there, and like I take everybody there. Everybody, especially if I like go on a date downtown, I'm like, oh, let's stop in the bookstore. And like the last time I did that, like I got kissed in the fantasy section, and I told you guys about that in one of my vlogs. And like, I don't know, it's just like a lot of cute, adorable memories attached to that place. So it's so crazy to me that it's closing, and it was so sad being in there today because it was like they had closed up most of the store because it's like a 3-story structure or whatever, and they only had like the first floor open and then the cafe, and so it was just so sad. Like, it was okay. I'm gonna stop saying it was so sad, but it was so sad. I very, you know, I don't know, I have feelings about it. I wasn't expecting to have feelings about it because like, I don't know, it's just a store, but wow, I can't believe they're closing it. Like, how crazy. And I would not have known they were closing it if I hadn't seen it on TikTok this morning. So like, yeah, I'm glad that I at least went one last time. So these are the things I got. I got 2 books. I took a few clips, so maybe I'll show you. And as you can see, it was pretty wiped out. There was like so many empty shelves and everything everywhere, so it wasn't like that many things that I could grab, but I did end up grabbing this, The King of Infinite Space by Lindsay Faye, and this is by the same author as Jane Steele. And I remember that a few years ago on BookTube, Jane Steele was like that girl. Everybody was talking about that book. And that one didn't really appeal to me, but this one sounds really interesting. And I do remember that I want to say a subscriber recommended this to me based on the fact that I really enjoyed The Wicker King by Kate Ancrum. They said that it kind of had like a similar vibe, especially because of like the relationship between the main characters, because there are like 3 main characters and they kind of all seem to have like maybe a romantical type something going on. And it's also like a Hamlet retelling, and I love Shakespeare and I enjoy Shakespearean retellings sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes. So I definitely figured that I'd give this a shot. I also got The Hanged Man by Katie Edwards. This is the 2nd book in the Tarot Sequence series. The first one is called The Last Sun, and I enjoyed The Last Sun. I think I only gave The Last Sun like 3 stars, which is maybe a slightly unfair rating because I do like it. I did enjoy it. I thought it was really interesting and very unique, and I think that it was just like a cool world that I definitely want to read more about. So I don't know if 3 stars was like fair in comparison to how intrigued and impressed I was with how that book turned out, because it's very like fun, action-packed queer fantasy, and it just was very cool. It has like a found family aspect, like a lot of stuff in it that I really like. So I don't know, I feel like looking back, I've been very stingy with my ratings in the past, and I don't know why. I don't know what's like motivating that, but yeah. So anyway, I'm gonna read this second book, and I'm gonna see what it's giving. I'm kind of excited about it. So these are the two books I was able to grab from their like end of days sale, and I also went and I got like some sushi and stuff, so that was cool. And while I was doing that, I listened to the audiobook for The Stone Sky, so I did end up finishing it. I don't know exactly how many pages I read today of that, so I will flash that up on the screen, but let me grab the book so we can talk about it really briefly. I finished this, and this was a really incredible read. I think this is one of those stories that is great like on a thematic level more so than it's great on like other levels. Like I think it's well written in every aspect, but I know that for me, when I read a book and if I really enjoy it, typically a lot of that enjoyment for me is based in the fact that I really like the characters, I really like their dynamic, or I really enjoy the dialogue, I like the way they speak, or I like the narration, I like the prose. Like those are things that usually stand out to me the most and make me feel the most affected and impacted and like connected to a story. But in this case, I feel like the thematic elements of this story were just very incredible. It's really, you know, overall a story about oppression and also about the environment, and it talks very interestingly about the linkage between racism and environmental like ecological disaster, which is, I don't know like how familiar you guys are with the concept, but a lot of like colonialism, for example, has like a huge impact on the ecology. Like as it is right now, colonialism is one of the like hugest factors that has impacted climate change to such the extent that it is, because, you know, conquerors, they come to a town, not a town, but they come to a country, they strip the resources, they don't replenish things that they cut down, that they burn, you know, this idea of constant conquest and things like that. And not only conquest of a people, but conquest of a land, stripping it, having no respect for, in this case, like Father Earth. The earth is very personified, and like having that kind of disrespect for the earth itself and the people in a certain place, how that impacts the environment as a whole, is very interesting to me. And I just love this. Like I thought it was really great. I definitely think that I enjoyed the first book in this series the most out of all of them, because it featured my favorite character dynamic of maybe all time between two characters named Cyanite and Alabaster, and I love them so much, and we don't get to see them interact in this book, so it was like something I definitely missed. But it's just an incredible story overall in a lot of different ways, and I think that you should definitely read this series if you're interested in it. Like, it's very brilliant, very genius. It is one where you kind of have to walk with N.K. Jemisin a bit, because things don't make a whole lot of sense initially, and it's very like, it's a very like winding story. You know, it takes you down a lot of different paths so you can get to your end goal where you're finally understanding what's going on, because even the characters are kind of confused and in the dark, and so you're on that same journey of confusion with them. And so I think that that's really interesting. I enjoyed it. Like, it was really great. So yeah, I would definitely recommend it. I'm giving it 4 stars because, like I said, I enjoyed the first book in the series so much, and I think that this one didn't quite live up to that experience, but it was still very good, and it was like a great way to conclude the series. So yeah, and I might do some more reading actually, because I just started this ebook while I was on my train ride home, and it's called, what is it called, like Swedish Mountain Men or something like that, by Lily Gold, and it's like a reverse harem romance story, and I started reading that on my train ride home, so I might read some more of that. Who knows? It's only about like 3:30, so plenty of reading time left in the day, and I've got nothing but time. So is the camera focused on me? I'm unsure, but hello, I am back in my bed because it is so freezing cold to my house right now, which is interesting because it's really not that cold outside, but it's freezing in here. So I'm under my blankets, and I am still reading Swedish Mountain Men, and I'm like 20% into it. Let me check how many pages that is. Let's see. It feels like a lot of pages. I am on page 60, and besties, I'm in love with it. I'm in love with it so bad. This book is about a character named Daisy, and essentially there's some sort of mysterious incident that has occurred in Daisy's hometown that has led to her being vilified by like her whole community, and like she got fired from her job, and all of this stuff has happened, and it's all related to something that her ex-boyfriend has done or kind of exposed about her. We don't necessarily know what it is, but it has led to her like choosing to flee her life, and so she goes to Sweden hoping to like hide out and lay low. She almost hits a moose, and in an attempt to not hit the moose, she ends up crashing her car into a tree, and she is rescued by these really hot mountain men named Eli and Cole, and they take her to their cabin because the roads are all shut down because it's like a snowstorm. And so they take her to their cabin, and she's staying with them, and there's like one of the guys, his name is Riven, and he's like a doctor, so he's making sure she's all right after her accident, and they're just like all snowed in together. But I personally am having a ball. I think it's so fun. I'm so into it. Cole, he is like really mean. He has a very like grumpy personality, and I don't know, he's just really mean. And I know that in real life, if my love interest was anything less than like absolutely kissing the ground that I walk on, I would not be even remotely looking in their direction or interested in them. But something about it in a book just gets me every time. So I'm obsessed with Cole, like really, really bad. And I really like Eli. He's like the flirty, fun one. And then Riven, he's a little bit more like stoic and serious. And they're trying to get to the bottom of why Daisy is being so like cryptic about her background and what's going on. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm 60 pages into that, and it's like a 300 something page book, so I don't know. We'll see if I do any more reading today, but I'm having a lot of fun reading this. Like, I really am. And I am so obsessed with Cole. He's so fucking mean, and I'm so obsessed with him. What does that say about me? I have no idea. Not a clue. Alright, so besties, I am about to go to sleep, but I had to update you because I am now 200 pages into the Swedish Mountain Men, and I'm obsessed so badly. So first, I just want to give you the numbers for today. So I read 148 pages of The Stone Sky today because I started the day on like page 250, and I finished the book, and the book is like 398 pages. So if I'm counting correctly, then that should be 148 pages. And then 200 pages of this other romance book. So I have read 348 pages today. So way above my reading goal, and very proud of myself. It was a very great reading day because I've enjoyed both of the reads as well. So like, we love to see it. Okay, hi dolls. So I did not film anything for the last 2 days of this challenge because I was in a terrible mood. The vibes were so severely off, and I just really did not want to be on camera, and I was just having a really weird time. So I'm finally here to let you guys know how the challenge ended up. So the last time I spoke to you, it was Thursday, and I was reading and loving 3 Swedish Mountain Men by Lily Gold, and I did end up completing that on Friday. I read 112 pages of that on Friday, and I finished it up, and it was so good. I feel like at the time I gave it a 4-star, but I'm thinking it may be a 5-star read because it was just so good for me. Like, it was excellent on a lot of different levels for me, and I absolutely adored it. Like, I love the vibe and the chemistry between the main character Daisy and all of her baes. Like, I thought that they all had such an interesting and like unique dynamic with each other. I felt like all of the characters really stood out and stood on their own as like very complex individuals. I think they came together as a unit very well. I thought that the dynamic between all the guys, though they aren't like romantically entangled, was also very compelling and kind of beautiful. The way that they build like a life together, because they have been together since like elementary school, and they just kind of like love each other and find family and like comfort with one another because they're estranged from a lot of the other parts of their family, like their bio family. So I love the found family aspect of it, and I love when a poly romance has like a found family vibe. So that was like so good for me. I love Daisy as a main character. I thought she was really fun, and she's a little bit of a like feisty heroine, but I feel like she was great. Like, I loved her vibe. I thought she was so smart and so compelling, like emotionally. I just loved her so much, and I thought she was really sweet and like very caring and loving towards the guys, but she also was not taking any shit, and I appreciated that so much about her. Like, it was just, for me, pretty much a perfect romance, and I really need to like buy a physical copy because I loved it that much. Like, it was just so good, so cute for me, and I was obsessed with it. So then, because I love this so much, I was like, yeah, I'm going to continue on with reading some books by Lily Gold, because why not? She has about 4 books out already. She's a relatively new author, I guess. I think she's been publishing since 2021. And so yeah, she has 4 books out. I was like, yeah, like I'm going to get through her backlist. So I started reading Nanny for the Neighbors, and I read 38 pages of that. And Nanny for the Neighbors is about this girl who is an out-of-work nanny, and her neighbors kind of recruit her to be the nanny for this surprise baby that they've come across, because they, like the Swedish mountain men, are in this kind of like 3-guy domestic partnership that is not romantic or sexual in nature, but they do like to have like group sex with girls. It's like their thing. And so they got some girl pregnant. She didn't tell them for a few months, but she has like, I don't know, she's going through some hard times. She's apparently going to rehab, and so she leaves them with the baby so that she can go to rehab. They have no idea how to take care of a child, and so they enlist this girl. I think her name's Beth. They enlist Beth to help them with the baby. And yeah, so Beth is like, okay, like sure, childcare is my passion, I'm gonna help you guys out. I really did not love the first 38 pages of this, but I was like, I'm gonna keep giving it a shot. I am. So into Saturday, I did read some more of it. I read about 100 more pages, and then I decided to DNF it because I just was not loving the vibes. So for me already, I'm not a huge fan of like this secret baby trope, but I thought that maybe it would be something that I could end up enjoying, just because I think that Lily Gold has like a nice writing style. Her stories, even if they can be a little bit dark or have some serious themes going on, there's still something that's very like heartwarming and fun and like nice to read about in them. But I really found that like I just didn't like the way that the situation was done in this book, and it also kind of immediately showed me some of Lily Gold's I want to say crutches as a writer, or maybe some of her patterns is a kinder way to say that, which is that she writes the dudes in a pretty similar way, where there's one that's like really stoic, really quiet, doesn't say much. There's another one that's like super flirty and outlandish, and then there's the one that's like, you know, more cool and calm and collected, but also like immediately emotionally available, in contrast to the one dude who's really stoic, quiet, and he's not immediately like enmeshed into the romantic dynamic. And so that was like, it would have been fine if the circumstances were not around like this baby. And so the one guy who's really stoic, he's like paying no attention to his baby and not taking care of his baby, and it was just like, it was weird and uncomfortable, and I didn't like it. And I know he has issues and trauma and whatever, but I don't care. I didn't like it, and I just wasn't having like a good time. So his character immediately off-put me, and I hated him. And then I felt like, because I had already read The Swedish Mountain Men and really loved that, I felt like I couldn't stop comparing the two, especially since they're so similar in the dynamic that the author presents for the like guys. I feel like the guys, they all have like similar personality traits, sort of, kind of, and I felt like it was just like reading a less interesting version of the characters that I really loved in The Swedish Mountain Men. So I just couldn't keep reading it because it wasn't my favorite concept, and then the characters were leaving a lot to be desired for me personally. But I will be continuing on with Lily Gold's backlist and reading her other stuff, maybe, because it seems very fun. But the nanny one wasn't for me. Another thing that I don't like, that she definitely has a thing for, is like the dudes are all big and buff and muscular, and the girl is super itsy bitsy, teeny tiny, Polly Pocket sized girl, and I hate that. I really don't enjoy it. Maybe it's just me as like a tall girl. I'm not even that tall, but I'm like 5'8", and I feel like girls in a book, they're always like under 5 foot, and it's like, how common is that to be under 5 foot and to be in a relationship with like a guy that's 6'7"? Like, it just doesn't add up, you know. It's a bit much for me personally. I wish that more authors knew that like bodily diversity is a thing, and other body types are actually very fun and very sexy in real life and to read about. Did you guys know that? Now you do. Okay, and the last update that I have to tell you guys about is that after DNFing Nanny for the Neighbors, I wanted to reach my 150 page goal on Saturday, so I ended up picking up this other reverse harem, which is called Cindered Glass by, I want to say the author's name is Shalon Johnson, but I might be misremembering, but I'm pretty sure that's it. And this is like a polyamorous reverse harem, like Cinderella retelling, and it has like a black protagonist. And yeah, so it's set in like this other world where there is kings and queens and balls and fairies and things like that, and we have this girl who is our Cinderella, and she has essentially been, you know, she's treated like a servant by her stepmother, and her stepsisters don't like her. Times are hard, but she is in this kind of like romantic entanglement with this blacksmith, and she also comes into contact with this fairy who's like a fire fairy, and he's really into her, and he decides that he's going to grant her like a magical wish. And so her wish is that she will be able to get married so that she can be free from her evil stepmother's clutches. And so I feel like, because I'm not like finished the book by any means, but I do feel like the trajectory of the story is that she's going to find like her Prince Charming, and then she's going to also be able to keep her fairy and her blacksmith, who is someone that used to be a fairy but he got his magic taken. It's a whole interesting kind of involved concept, but I do like the fairy tale vibe of it. I was so excited when I found this on TikTok, and I will be finishing it at some point, but not in this video. So thank you so much for watching. In this video I did end up completing 5 books, 2 of them novellas, 3 full length. So I finished Silver Under Nightfall, I finished The Stone Sky, and I finished the 3 Swedish Mountain Men, all of which I really enjoyed. And then the 2 novellas that I read, Dolor by Katrina Jackson, really enjoyed that. It's a continuation in a series that I already like. And I also read Sugar Sugar by a new to me romance author, and I thought that that was a good one if you're looking for like a sugar baby romance novella. Like, you could check that one out. So yeah, it was like overall a very good reading week. I read many pages. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully I will see you all in my next video. Bye, you guys.